All right, cool. Let's go to the next one. Data classification and taxonomy. Data classification and taxonomy. Let's talk about this for a second. Oh. Data classification and taxonomy. I want us to type that word, please, everybody. Type classification. Classification is easy to understand. Taxonomy is a term I want to make sure you get familiar with also. And it's really a way we kind of break the data also, right? So can we all type that data taxonomy real quick? All right, cool. So let's use a practical example here, right? Identifying data categories. For example, I may categorize my PII record, personal identification information, and say, all right, we can group it into different categories, right? I can say um, sensitive versus non-sensitive, sensitive versus general. You can break it however your organization decide to break it. You can now take it to another level and say, what is the classification level? You know, I can decide and say, what is public information? What is internal? What is confidential? All right. So let's think together. Let's even forget cyber for a second. So if we are in if I tell me what how you classify this. So under three category: public, internal, confidential. Your company's headquarter address. How would you classify it? Public, internal, or confidential? Again, forget cyber for a second. We're just saying let's classify it together. It's okay. I think we can all agree on this. Yeah, it's information that we can all agree it should be public. It's headquarters of our company. That's public information. Okay, fair point. What about information about internal security awareness training? Okay. Yeah, we can do that, really. Okay, what about this? Information about financial forecast. Okay, confidential. Okay. Now, somebody said public. Now, you see, this is where it gets interesting. It can be public depending on the organization. If you're a publicly traded company, then your forecast will be on the 10K report, right? Then it's possibly okay to be public. If it's a privately owned business, then it has no business in the public space, right? Okay, let's take it a step further. What about detailed information, initial detailed information about a potential acquisition? Okay. So, I said potential. It's not yet public, right? We've not yet confirmed it. We are still working on it. So I think that should be confidential because think about it. If I'm a publicly traded and I'm buying another company that is publicly traded, so that will be insider trade. They can arrest the person for doing that, right? Because I can go buy shares in the company because I know I'm about to buy them and they will explode. So people can do insider trade, right? So that is the way people think around this topic most of the time, really. So people sit down and classify and say, "Oh, how do we determine what is the level of each of the information we are working on, right? Very important, and based on that, we now start thinking of the classification of the data itself, meaning we assign the classification level based on the information we all discuss right now. We would now assign our classification level, you know? Okay, let me write that down. Okay. So we assign our classification level based on that because it makes sense. Okay. Then we now go to the final one, documenting the taxonomy, create a data dictionary detailing the taxonomy for reference. So now, we just go in the details and say, okay, let's now put a mapping information based on the data classification we've done. All right, we agree. If it's a general address, that is public. If it is about an awareness campaign we are doing internally, then it's an internal thing, right? We can say, oh, training, but it's classified internal. If it is a competitive, we do a competition analysis of our competitor out there, that will be confidential. If I'm doing a merger and acquisition at the initial stage, it's confidential. Now, once the acquisition is done, then it becomes a public information, then it's public. But the initial stage, while it's still at that stage, it has to be confidential, right? Or else you could be accused for insider trading also, which is a crime, really. So those are the ways people really think around this. It's a big deal. So data on its own, it's a career. For some of you, you will see us run an internship on data next year, first quarter, and but more to come. Then make sure you're part of that internship. You know, we're working with a partner now, a solution that focus on data, and if that is formalized, that would help us because it's one of those fields you have to know a tool to be effective as a data governance person. We just don't have the right partner yet. So we're working on that to have a tool that we can say, okay, it's a good tool for data governance and data privacy that we can use out there. All right.